Very rarely will you add to a trade and have it blow up. You can get out of it if you get down by 40%. You can get out of that add. And it ends up being about the same as you would have lost if you had gotten out of the pilot at 70. It's the 70-40 rule. And like Michael said, if it does, he tried to Google it. Dude, these are my terms. You're not going to find this on Google. That's why you're here. If you could find this shit on Google, you wouldn't have paid $47 to come to me. I'm kidding. Learning, I will clear that up for you in a second, okay? But as the other Michael points out, if I've got $810 in the trade and I get nearly a double, you make almost $800 when you add. Do you see that? Look how much you make when you add. And look how much you lose on a pilot. And look how much you lose on a pilot when you add. About the same. This is why if you have a 50-50 equity curve, a 50-50 win rate, your equity curve goes up exponentially. So just remember this, if you're going to risk the debit paid on a pilot or use the 70% rule, if you add, don't be afraid to add, but when you do, get out if it's ever down by 40%. Because if it does not work and you get out at 40%, you'll have only lost your pilot. And what did I say when I first started this conversation, what my allo was? My allo was 500. I traded just underneath my allo. I added to the trade. Didn't work. Got out minus 40%. I ended up losing 324. What's 324 in relation to my... This is the most important point right here. Listen close. What is a $324 loss? This is the pilot plus add that you got out at 40% when it was down 40%. What is $324 loss in relation to your allo? This is the most important thing right here. What's the relation between losing $324 on a $500 allo? Metalhead. Exactly. You lost less than your allo. If you're okay with your allo, how okay are you losing 320? You're not going to like losing anything. But imagine if your allo's 500, then I'll explain learning's question. If that's your allocation, but you only traded this, and then you ended up adding it into this, but then when you lost, you only lost this. Pilot. So your allo is $500. Your pilot position you decided to take was a little bit less than that allo. So it's $420. You added to the trade and you got out at 40% when it didn't work. You lost less than your allo, significantly less. That, my friends, is called a win. I don't like losing anything either. But if you don't like to lose, you're going to have a hard time as a trader, because losing setups or having setups that don't work where you end up losing money is part of trading. It's part of your job. It's literally part of the job description, learning. So the difference is that allo is short for allocation, and you have to create an allocation plan. So what do you allocate to each trade? And the only way to find that is to find your burn level. Your burn level is the amount of money that you can pile up on the kitchen table, light it, put some lighter fluid on there, and torch this thing up, and you don't care. Yeah, like the other mic says, it's what you can lose without sweating. So I always ask, well, how much is your account? Well, I've got $7,000. All right, well, if you Google that, how much do I trade per trade, in the world of trading if I have some will say 5%. Well, 5% of $7,000 is $350. Okay. But then I'm going to ask you, how do you feel about losing $350? And you're going to say something like, not good, or I don't like losing $350. All right, but that's not what I asked you. Are you okay losing $350 on any trade that you put on? And you go, well, not really. Well, guess what? That's not your burn level. How about 320? How about 300 to 320? How do you feel about that pile of money on the kitchen table? Still not there? Let's keep going. 280, 295, under 300. How do you feel about that? You keep doing this mental with yourself until you can find a burn level where you don't give a F if it goes up in smoke. What's that number? You'll find it. It might be $150 to start. I know there's someone in the room right now. It's $150 they put on a butterfly, and that's what they wanted to trade, and that's their aloe. That's the number they can lose repeatedly without throwing a hissy fit. Now, once you've found this burn level, that amount, learning, you still with me? Okay. So that amount is the amount that you are not going to go over or exceed on any initial trade that you put on. And it can change and grow over time, but it is your initial allocation. That's the number. Or I like ranges, okay? So if this was sort of where, can you do 150 to 170? Is that a number you could feel comfortable with? Is it 390 to like 410? Is it 800 to 850 like me? Michael has a different, everyone has everybody has their aloe, what that is. Then you can divide it by your account and go, well, what percentage is that? Because the percent doesn't mean shit if it makes you feel bad. I could say, 4% should be your aloe. Okay, 280. But what if 280 makes you burn along with it? Can't do it. Can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. So you need to find out what that number is. Before you get to discipline learning, you need to find out what your burn level is. You cannot get to discipline until you do this first. So let's just say you found it. 260 to 280. I'm just picking out. I love range, right? Small, tight range. Any trade you put on with me, with us, you've got to be under this number. You could go up to 280. I would prefer that you be underneath this. If I put out a trade that says 240, you can get one of them. If I put out a trade that says 275 for a vertical, you can get one of them. I'd rather you narrow the vertical and maybe get down to like $1.30 and take two of them and be at 260. Now you're even less than that, which is less than that. That's better. So once you figure this out and you understand your burn level, and you will not exceed this on initial, that is called a pilot position. Once you've put the trade on and it's under your aloe, you now have on a pilot position. like a pilot project, a test project, right? That's what that is. And now that you have a pilot out there, you have to make a decision if your trading plan is going to be, if the pilot goes down by 40%, I'm out. If the pilot goes down by 70%, I'm out. If the pilot goes down by 50%, I'm out. Or I'm just going to risk the debit paid because I can deal with loss. If you can't deal with loss, you might need to put some kind of an exit strategy in here. You could also use the 3-day plan. When you get to the nugget farm, you'll see all of this. 3 days, if it's the trade setup isn't working in the first 3 days, you're out. Unless it's over a 1 month, expiration, then you've got to give it time to breathe. But that's what a pilot is. You have an allocation plan which begins with creating what the burn level is. And once you have the burn level and you've got that, then the initial trade that you put on, that is with inside this number or preferably just under that. And once you execute the trade, 235 I got for the vertical, yay. That is your pilot position. Clear? Does that make sense? Then you can kick discipline in. Then you can say, okay, now I need to be disciplined about it. So learning, does that make sense? You got that? Awesome. This, what we're talking about, is called having a trading plan. And it's going to take you some time.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video from Trade With Me Now. Make sure to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel so you make sure that you catch our next video right when it's released. Also, if you have a question or comment, please leave that in the comments section below. And of course, if you want to learn more about Trade With Me Now or join our community of profitable traders, go to tradewithmenow.com. There's also a link in the description below.